This is a case of hunting and using voice cloning to commit crimes. A man who is a corporate executive checked his account, only to find that the $35 million deposit disappeared out of thin air. He kept refreshing the account page, but the number of Yulan has never changed. In a hurry, I dialed the phone number of the account bank to verify the situation, but the person in charge of the bank told me that the bank confirmed the identity of the caller through voice and text recognition. It was the man who called the day before to authorize the forced transfer. But the man never made this call from beginning to end. The huge sum of money disappeared out of thin air. In fact, someone used AI technology to replicate the man's voice. Through forged calls, he deceived all the security reviews of the bank and transferred all the balances on the man's account. The time is up 5 months ago. The mastermind of this crime through AI. Technology has been in the room for 6 days without going out. His encrypted communication software has always been online. At the same time, he has contacted the implementation of different tasks through encrypted telephones. Helpers he first found a Singaporean, asked the other party to disguise himself as a consultant in the field of supervision, figured out the relevant rules of large-scale cross-border transfers in the United Arab Emirates and local banks, and the verification process. Then he arranged a special person, using false identities and forged materials, opened 12 bank accounts in 4 countries, belonging to the company's shelf, and built up layers of inadequate capital circulation, channels to interfere with the follow-up investigation and tracking work. And then he contacted a person, text-to-speech, the technical experts, through neural networks, text-to-speech technology, are specially responsible for re-engraving the life of the target executive. At the same time, a former law firm assistant is also hired, responsible for forging professional legal emails that meet corporate norms and cooperating with relevant documents. The 17 people who committed the crime are from different countries. They do not know each other, and no one knows the complete layout of this scam. Each person is only responsible for a single link in their own hands and relies on encrypted communication to transmit information. They piece together the full version of this scam. 4 months before the incident, the person in charge of material collection began to search the entire network for all the public and open voice content of the target executive. He found the executive on the internet, all the public appearances and videos, from the keynote speeches of industry summits, from the speech at the investor exchange meeting, to the conference call for the interpretation of the financial report. The audio content even covered the executive's daily greetings and casual jokes, etc. All the scenes which were originally used to shape the personal professional image. Public content the parties did not expect it at all. It has long been reduced to criminals and a tool for committing crimes. After these materials were sent to the voice technology hacker, the other party spent 3 days on fine processing, stripping away the environment of the venue and the reverberation background. The applause, noise and the voices of other speakers removed the seriously damaged audio clips, and finally sorted out 4 hours of pure executive voices, covering thousands of words he used every day, fully prepared for the follow-up AI model training. 3 months before the incident, the training of the AI model was officially started. The neural network system began to disassemble and deeply analyze the 11-hour speech material and learn the micro features of the voice that the human ear could not actively capture at all. The ups and downs of the tone when reading out the numbers, the breathing rhythm before mentioning the key content, the frequency of habitual pauses between sentences, the accent offset when switching languages, and the tone changes under different emotional states. These thousands of subtle characteristics together have become the unique voice imprint of this executive, which is also the core key for people to be able to distinguish the voices of real-world friends by virtue of sound waves. However, the initial training process was not smooth because the learning rate parameters were set too high in the first round of training. The model, only the fixed phrases will be blunt and reproduced, and the output content is full of ambiguous noise, which cannot achieve normal wing expression at all. The hacker restarted the training after adjusting the parameters. The second round of training took 3 days to complete, and the generated sound still exists. Serious distortion, dull and vague sound. The root cause of the problem lies in the training material, the residual back and the scene noise. The hacker performed deep noise reduction processing on the audio again, superimposed filters to complete frequency isolation, and abandoned 2 hours, seriously damaged material, and then started the third round of training, and this time the training took a full 2 weeks. When the training was completed, the hacker tested a daily greeting, and the generated voice shocked him. This voice and the voice of the executive himself, there's almost no difference. The ups and downs of the intonation, the severity of the breath, the subtle pause, and the calm tone have all been perfectly reproduced. Even if they are compared with the original recording, They cannot distinguish the authenticity. He immediately notified the planner that the replica of life has been perfectly realized. And it is not enough to have a perfect replica sound. They must deceive the person in charge of the bank's online inquiry. And for this, they must also carry out the whole process. Simulation exercise. The artist is responsible for operating the AI system to convert the text content into the voice of the executive in real time. And the other person plays the person in charge of the bank, throwing out various possible unexpected problems, from the request for information verification to the details of the use of funds and the request for callback confirmation. They repeatedly polishing the coping words to ensure that all responses are natural, smooth and logical. In the 30-second drill, they found that there was an electronic sound flaw for half a second in the middle of the voice. This detail was enough to expose the whole scam. So they spent another 2 days. It took time to adjust the parameters and conduct repeated testing and optimization. Until the 48th drill, they finally achieved the expected perfect effect. All questions could be answered smoothly. All questions could be properly responded to. And the voice remained stable and natural throughout the process, fully in line with the executive's speaking habits and personal characteristics. At the same time, the personnel in other links have also completed all the preparations. All 12 shell accounts are ready for debugging. The circulation route planning of funds is completed. The cryptocurrency wallet has also been created, and the email address of the online trade has been created with the real domain name. There is only one character difference, which is almost indistinguishable by the naked eye. The team also accurately calculated the transfer, settlement time, and forged legal documents in various places, which was enough to achieve the effect of making the fake real. The date of the action was set on Friday, which is to take advantage of the inefficiency of the bank's weekend processing. The formal investigation will not start until Monday, and strive for a 72-hour operation buffer period for themselves. The planner issued an action instruction to all members. 17 people scattered around the country are all on standby. Any small thing may make the whole plan lose. At 10:17 a.m. Dubai time on the day of the incident, the person in charge of the bank walked to the desk and reviewed the email step by step as every day. The transfer business handled. And at the same time in Tokyo, the executive had just walked into the conference room to participate in a 6-hour quarterly review meeting. He turned his mobile phone to silent, and the mode did not know his own voice at all. He was about to dial a phone that was enough to change everything. At 10:23, the phone of the person in charge of the bank rang. The caller ID was an international number with a Tokyo area code. The moment he saw the number, he immediately put down the work at hand. He was very familiar with this customer. He picked up the phone. And what came from the other end of the receiver was his incomparably familiar voice, with a Japanese accent, which was officially gentle, and the speed of speech was calm and smooth. There was no difference with the voice of the executive himself. The caller explained that he was to finalize an urgent acquisition project. It is necessary to complete the transfer of $35 million on the same day, because the project needs to be strictly confidential. Before the official announcement, more details cannot be disclosed. The person in charge picked up the pen and wrote down the account number and transfer amount provided by the other party. This huge transfer is not uncommon for this old customer with high-quality qualifications. They have had the same and equal-scale capital operations before. But at this moment his heart flashed. A strange thing happened. The voice was obviously right, but the pause between words seemed to have a hint of almost imperceptible mechanical sense. But he quickly dispelled this doubt. He listened to this voice for several years. How could people make mistakes? In the next 23 minutes, the whole call process was smooth and natural. The other party knew the details of the past cooperation like the back of his hand, and all the questions could be answered fluently, and no flaws could be seen at all. Less than 3 minutes after the call ended, 2 confirmation emails were sent to the mailbox of the person in charge. One came from a counterfeit executive mailbox, confirming the content of the call and the transfer authorization, and the other came from a counterfeit cooperation law firm, attaching legal documents that complied with the specifications. The account information was completely consistent with the content of the call. All links are in line with the bank's verification process. The person in charge of the bank moved the light and mark to the approval button, but suddenly stopped moving. He approached the screen to check the email address, but he was still not sure if the character in the domain name was correct. He had seen this email address dozens of times, but never had a specific domain name for the email after checking. The other party said on the phone that the time for this acquisition is tight and every second counts. And the familiar voice in the call just now, those precise cooperation details, are telling him that all this is real. Perennial the industry, experience and self-confidence told him that the voice was right. And the email also corroborated all the information. In the end, he pressed the approval button. He completed all the transfer operations step by step, splitting the $35 million and transferring It took 12 preset in the empty shell account. All the approval process was completed in less than an hour. On the other side, the planner looked at the notification of the arrival of the transfer and immediately started the process of laundering the funds. The funds transferred to the Hong Kong account were transferred to Singapore within minutes and then split to Switzerland, Cyprus, and a number of cryptocurrency exchanges. Cryptocurrencies were quickly entered, and traces of circulation were erased through coin mixing services. Digital assets were split into countless wallet addresses that would be scrapped and discarded within 24 hours. The circulation track of funds was completely erased. The planner looked at the last transfer to confirm the arrival of the account, slowly shut down all computers, deleted all encrypted chat records, and issued silent instructions to all members. All 17 people immediately went offline. This huge criminal network disappeared without a trace in an instant. The next morning, when an executive in Tokyo was routinely checking his account, he found that $35 million had disappeared out of thin air. All transfers and operations were not authorized by him. He was also completely unfamiliar with the receiving account. The operation time was the afternoon of the previous day, and he was attending a meeting at that time. He hurriedly dialed the phone number of Dubai Cooperative Bank. The person in charge of the bank called up the operation records of the previous day. After that, he finally realized that he had fallen into the scam. He checked the previous email address alone. Only then did he find the flaw of impersonation, which was clearly placed there from the beginning. The local police in the United Arab Emirates immediately launched an investigation, and the International Criminal Police Organization immediately intervened. Banks in many countries urgently froze suspicious accounts, but criminals had already taken advantage of the 72-hour buffer time to escape. The results of the audio forensic examination showed that the voice on the phone was completely synthesized by AI. The training material was the executive's 11-hour public recording. Synthesized sound. The human ear is completely unable to distinguish between authenticity. This case has also become the first large-scale artificial intelligence technology fraud in the Middle East. Investigators tracked down the flow of funds, but found that all accounts had long been emptied, those shelf companies, all registered in jurisdictions with opaque information. And after the funds finally flowed to cryptocurrencies, they completely lost their traces. The investigation confirmed that a total of 17 pacemakers participated in the case, but anonymous accounts and encrypted communications made all the tracking leads were all interrupted, and the police finally recovered only about 400,000, less than 2% of the total amount involved. But not a single pacemaker was arrested.